Okay, so welcome back, everybody. Today we are going to be learning about Chapter 9, which deals with time and billing. Okay, so things that you should expect when we are going through this lesson is how to record reimbursable expenses. Okay, so that's another term, in other forms, it's a way of how do you bill for expenses. Okay, we're also going to be looking at two-sided items, which, if you guys remember, yesterday I talked really briefly about it. Because we were dealing with how to do group inventory items. This serves a purpose of something similar. However, I will show you what the difference is because we get to learn it. Yay. And then other things is billable time, tracking owner's time. So, this one's more towards, your employees, your independent contractors, anything that has to do with a service. So let's say my company does a service, and how I charge people is by an hourly rate. So this is how you can bill a specific person, and this is how you can keep track of that. And then lastly, time reports. So again, it's going to ask me to open up this file, which I've already done. So it is right here and waiting for me. All right, so the first thing that we're going to be looking at is reimbursable or billable expenses. Now, again, so this is where we get to go ahead and get to look at that small section about when we're dealing with our customers. Is there's that also slash tab that allows them to assign them a job. Okay, now when we're dealing with that, this is where this billable tracking will appear on the, whether it's the invoice or whether it's the bill. Okay, so here you have a few options where you would be able to see that little icon. I'll show you what it is. It's in the book. But there are a couple ways you could do it. You'd be able to do it through either the invoice, the bill. You could do it. You could find it through the write a checks or a credit card transaction. Yes, and usually, typically, those kind of accounts that when you see that appear would be anything that's involved with either another current asset or a cost of goods sold, any other expenses, as well as expenses in general. Okay, so these are typically what you would see, and these are typically what the accounts you would be using to actually bill those expenses. So it's pretty straightforward. You want to bill those expenses, so expenses is going to be one of them. Now, however, QuickBooks you will never ever see that little billable check mark. So if you look carefully here, you're gonna see billable. Sorry, my computer, the book is not that clear, but every time you either write a check or you insert something and you activate the class job and whatnot, you're gonna see this little tab that says billable, and you can either check mark it. Okay, so we'll get to go ahead and see an example in a couple minutes. So again, if you are using QuickBooks, typically you will never see this if you're dealing with an income account. Okay, so remember, make sure you recognize that if you see an income account, it will not be associated with anything that's billable. Okay. All right, so our first example of seeing that is going to be writing a check to express delivery services. So let's go ahead and do that for $20. Okay. So here we are. How do you write a check? We're going to be writing a check. So how will we write a check?
Write checks from the home page.
Write checks on the home page, yes. Where else? Okay. You can go to banking at the on the menu bar, and you'll be able to write the check there too. Okay. But I'm gonna go ahead and utilize my home page because it's right there. So here it populates my home page. I'm sorry, my check window, and here I want to make sure that I'm gonna write my check straight out of my checking account. So here this one says that we want to write a check to Express Delivery Services. When I do that, okay, all the information should fill in for you. And I'm going to do the item account as, I believe it says delivery service. So this one says so this was going to be a reimbursable expense. So we already have an account called reimbursable expense, and that's what I'm going to be putting this in. So reimbursable expense. Okay. And then once I do that, it tells me how much I'm going to do it for. And I think it was, what, $20 that this reimbursable check is for. So because I have the account for reimbursable check, yes, this is where all the money's going to go until you actually formally transfer the money to that vendor. Now this one, I'm already going to write it to them. So this is taking it from this account right here. Or it's categorizing it in this expense right here. Okay? And if I go ahead and write, let me see, for Miranda's Corner, okay? So the person that I'm assigning this vendor is going to be Miranda's Corner. Here you go. So if you guys remember when we were talking about customers and jobs, this is what this category is for. If I'm doing a specific bill or an invoice, I can go ahead and write a check for, I can go ahead and attach either a contractor or something for a specific customer. If I'm buying an item for a customer, usually this is what this little tab says here, this little section that I can fill out. It's called customer/jobs. So what I can do is I can assign my customers a specific person to get the job done. And this is what I'm doing. So my Express Delivery Services, which is a company, right? I am writing them a check because they did a job for Miranda's Corner. And what you're going to see is here is the billable icon right here. And it's checked marked. So I know that this is considered a billable expense, a reimbursable expense. So because every time I enter in, whether it's a job or a customer, this should appear whether you're dealing with either one of those 4 items, right? If it's an expense, right? So here, it shows up right here. And I'm going to go ahead and click Save and Close because we know that. Hold on, let me fill in the class here. Class is going to be Walnut Creek, and my memo is going to be document delivery. Okay, so to make sure I want to complete everything before I move on. So document delivery, and I want to make sure that this says Walnut Creek. So here we already indicated that it's going to go into the reimbursable expense account, and that I assigned this vendor here to a Miranda's Corner, and it's definitely going to be billable. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and click Save and Close. Okay, so I got the beep of approval. Now, the next thing it's going to tell you is you're going to create an invoice. So, there are 7 ways to create an invoice. Sorry, I have to think about how many there are. I believe there are 7 ways to create an invoice. And can anybody tell me what they are?
The home page.
Homepage. The easiest.
Are you able to go to vendors?
Now, is when you're creating an invoice, is that for a vendor?
Oh, no. Never mind. Can you go to banking?
We're creating an invoice. What is an invoice usually for?
For
Through
us?
the I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say a different way to create an invoice. Go through the icon bar through income tracker.
I believe that is one of the ways. I can double check it with you. Income tracker. So I got income tracker and manage transactions. Is there a invoice? Yes, you can create invoices through here. Yes, you can. Where else can you go?
Customer center,
Customer center via what? There are 3 ways to get to the customer center.
Via the menu bar, the icon bar, or the home page.
That is true. That is correct. So you can either go to the customer center by clicking the customer tab here. You could go to the customer at the menu bar right here, customer center, or you can go onto the customer's icon, which should take you to the customer center. So, other ways you can also do that is go to customers, and you should be able to create invoices right here through the menu bar. So, you don't have to go specifically to the customer center to do it. You could just do it right here on the menu bar. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go to my customer center. And where else can I create an invoice? There are 3 ways after this.
Can you go down to run reports?
Not run reports.
Can you go to the, oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, manage transactions?
Yes, you can go to manage transactions, and invoices is right here. And what are the last 2 ways?
You can right click on the customer.
Yes, you can. You can right click on the customer and be able to create invoices right here. And what's the last one?
New transactions.
New transactions at the top of the menu. Yes, you can. And you can create invoices there. So I'm going to go ahead, since I'm already here, I'm going to go ahead and click invoices.
So whether it says invoices or create invoices, it's the same thing, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So terminology can be a little different depending on which way you go, but they essentially do the same thing. So here, it automatically filled in for me a person, but I don't want that. I want to put Miranda's Corner. And here they are. And then it's gonna pop up a window that, hey, this customer has a billable time. Are you going to allow it? And I said yes. Please go ahead and select and include. And then I'm gonna click OK. So remember, if you've already toggled it via whether you wrote the check first, you can always toggle it afterwards and pay them after you've built them. But this pop-up window only showed up because I've already attached a customer / job to this customer. So I assigned that vendor to this customer. So now this window would pop up. But if I were to do if I do it reverse transaction, right? If I were to report my invoice first, it's going to show up complete. This window wouldn't even show up. So make sure that you be careful on what order that you do it, and because your book will recognize one and not the other. So I'm gonna go ahead and click OK, and then it will pop this up window right here on exactly what the time is, and yes, and we're gonna fill this out. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at our page and see how we are gonna fill this out. So we're gonna fill it out. We're gonna say it's going to be okay, the accumulated estimated time, expense, and mileage. So yes, you could pretty much bill for a lot of things. And here we're going to just make sure that this is going to be for an expense. Let's see what the book says. Okay, so click the expenses tab, and then we're going to be entering verified time is 20%, is entered into the markup account. Okay, so because we're billing Miranda's Corner, right? She's a customer, and because we need to make sure that when we bill this customer, that we're also including the cost for that vendor. So we need to make sure that we put the markup as 20%, and enter okay, so expense markup in the tab. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this and do it. So here you have little tabs at the top. You either have time and time and costs. So you want to make sure that this is there, and then here we have time, which is we want to leave this alone. We want to make sure that we go to the expenses tab. So there's time tab here, expenses tab here, mileage, and I believe you have items. Okay, so you have a variety of how you can bill this. You can have a variety of how you can bill or keep track of the billing. So we want to make sure we're in our expenses tab. Okay, we're not doing for time because it's just a simple delivery charge, and I'm going to go ahead and click just expenses. All right, and this is where it asks us to mark up the value. Now, because we are doing the expense delivery, as you can see right here, the vendor is already appears. So here I'm going to go ahead and select that this is the vendor that I want to use. How much am I going to mark the bill up by? Because we need to remember we need to cover. When we bill our customer, we need to make sure that it covers the bill that we need to pay for this vendor to get the job done. So in this case, the book says they want us to mark it up by 20%, and the markup account is going to be markup. Oopsies. Mark up. Expense markup. Okay. And then once we've done that, then all is good. Okay. So let me go ahead and double check it to see if my screen matches the screen in the book. Okay. So here, yes, I've checked marked that I have the delivery services. I'm in my expenses tab. I've already filled in these 2 boxes. So I should be good. Oh, and then it says I need to check mark print selecting time. Okay, so I gotta click that before I go, and then I'll be able to click save, or I could click OK. All right, so I gotta check mark this, and let's see if my no. my selected sales is not taxable. So I'm going to go ahead and verify that, and I'm going to click OK. And then what's going to happen is, okay, so we have a reimbursable expense, and it's going to appear on the invoice. Okay, so here we're going to be charged. Whoa, I got charged twice, but yes. So here it gives you pretty much a detail of what you are expected to charge the customer for. And I'm going to go ahead and verify this screen down below. So here I'm supposed to recognize the two things, and I need to make sure I recognize that it's for the Reno group. Okay, so yes, my screen looks just like this, and that is how you're going to bill your customer for. So I'm going to go ahead and click verify, and I'm going to go ahead and proceed with this example. So everything looks good. I got my Randa's corner right here. I think I'm gonna bill them. Let's choose a random date for this class. I'm gonna bill them on May 3rd. Okay, and my billing code, I'm gonna do 2020. I'm sorry, my invoice code is going to be for 2020, and it's going to be for this amount. So I'm gonna charge. They're gonna charge me 24% $24 because one, I need to also benefit from this delivery service, and it covers the service charge that they are requesting. Okay, so again, I'm gonna write thank you for your service, or thank you for your business, and I'm gonna go ahead and click save and close. And you got the beep of approval. Okay. So any questions on what I just did? It was kind of quick, kind of confusing. But this is what happens when you are going to indicate that you selected a vendor and that you know that this vendor is going to be assigned to this specific customer. Okay? That's all it really is. So here we're going to go to the edit menu to time and billing, and let me see what it's asking me to do. Okay, I think it's just to activate it. So okay, so in case, if you guys remember when we did the initial setup, or when we were setting up our company file, one of the questions in the interview asked us, are you going to be keeping track, or do you want to keep track of time and billing? And I think for our scenario, they suggested they recommended us no, but I said yes, because we are primarily a service, right? We do photo sessions based on the hour. So in case you don't have that because you're setting up your company file, you're going to go to edit preferences, and let's say you said no, and now you need yes, because now you realize, well, the best way to measure this is for someone to clock in, or to have some sort of clocking system to make sure they keep track of their time. Or maybe on their invoice, it's going to be for how many hours, and they have to actually report to you how many hours they actually did the job. So here I'm going to go to time and expenses, and then I'm going to go to my company company. And then here it says, do you keep track of time? I selected yes. So this is why I'm able to have my billable expenses little window pop up, or my little thing on my invoices and on my checks, because I selected yes, I do want to keep track of time. All right. And yes, so this is how you toggle it on and off. If you don't need it, that's fine. You can turn it off if you're just in the works of selling products and strictly only products, then you don't really need to do time or keeping track of and time and expenses. However, it does apply more towards if you have employees and let's say they're not salary based, they're wages based. This is a perfect opportunity for you to, have them use a clock-in system, so then you can pay them by an hourly rate and you pay them precisely. Okay, you can't be like, oh, you were here these days, okay, I'm gonna mark you for 8 hours. No, this is how you can be able to use QuickBooks to keep track of their hours as well. Okay. And also for in case you have a big project coming up, you can utilize it for either yourself or a partner. Let's say this project is besides the core of your business. So let's say I plan to do this I plan to open up my store, have a store-wide sale, so I need to prepare all the materials and create a project. And that takes up time, right? And you want to keep track of that billing expense because it's going to be separate than your actual job. So those are things that you can use billing and time for. So it's good to use it. You don't have to use it if you have a separate program to be able to do that for you. Okay, so here I selected yes, I have my billing and coding on, and I'm going to click OK. All right, let's see if we're good on time. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and skip all this. So now the next section I'm going to talk to you guys about is called a two-sided item. Now I confuse this a lot. I always say double-sided, but it's two-sided. So if I say double-sided, just know I'm talking about two-sided. So what a two-sided item actually does. For example, we're looking at inventory item, right? Every time we create an inventory item part, it's usually one-sided because it's associated with three different accounts. However, the main priority function of it doesn't associate your it does. So again, so your inventory part is similar to your two-sided items because it utilizes more than one account to be able to pull information out or to be able to use one item, and it does two transactions at once simultaneously. So that's what a two-sided item does. Is every time you create it, it creates either an account that does expenses as well as your revenues as well. So in other words, it uses that exact item to be able to use in multiple accounts as well as multiple transactions. So that is what a two-sided item is. However, the only difference is when you're using a two-sided item is primarily if you have the following, okay? So one, if you have a reimbursable expense, right? You want to make sure that if I use this specific line item, it's going to come out of this account and this account, and it's specifically for the purpose of reimbursing expenses. Second thing is if you had a custom ordered part. So again, if you're going to purchase items for a specific customer, you definitely want to use a two-sided item so you can because you are assigning a specific person for that item that you're buying, you have the capability to mark them up a higher price. So using the two-sided item, not only are you creating an expense for them, but you're also creating You're also creating revenue. So you're gonna have an income account, and you're also creating an expense account, which is your cost of goods sold. Okay, so it's gonna directly once it recognizes that and you formulate your bill, it should automatically associate that. Okay, so you would definitely use it for when you're actually making purchases for a customer. So, for example, let's say a customer comes to you and says, I want a special lens camera. You can go ahead and buy it for them and make sure that you assign it to them. Okay, but again, you're going to charge them a higher rate. Okay, because it's effort that you have to do to connect to your vendor. And then you're going to also, for anything for subcontractors, okay? So, for example, oftentimes when you do have either a 1099 contractor, to you, that's a vendor, okay? So, it's anybody that you use for the purpose of, to have your business ran. But for example, that delivery service, it's not part of our company. We actually had to use someone else's company to deliver those things. So therefore, we're contracting with them as a subcontractor. So they are a vendor that does services for us. Okay, so that's going to fall under if you have subcontractor labor or expenses. Okay, so in our photo photography academy photography, for ours, all of our people who film are do the actual photographer. Those they are our 1099 workers. Okay, we pay them separately. Okay, and those are going to be used as a billable form of tracking. Okay, so they only have 3 categories to use two-sided items. So make sure you don't use two-sided items for inventory or using two-sided items for anything that has to do with charges or sales tax. Okay, it's primarily used for these 3 things here. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into keeping track of custom orders. Okay, so here we're going to take a look and we're going to see that we want to build, first off, we are going to create a customized order. We're going to be making a purchase for a specific customer. Okay, so as in they're using us to be the middleman to get us an item for them. So in this case, let's go ahead and read what we want to do. So here we got to go to the item list and we're going to create, I guess we're creating a new item. And I believe this is for it's going to be a non-inventory part. And let me see what it is. I believe it's going to be for the camera, the SR something camera. So custom camera right here is going to be our account. Okay. And then make sure that you select that this item is used in assembly. Okay, and we're going to associate these few things. So we have we have a cost of goods sold, preferred vendors, a supply, and we're going to leave this alone. Okay. How do you create an item? A brand new item. How do you create a new item? Anybody, how do you create a new item? There are so far 3 ways that you can create a new item.
I think there's like customer new item or vendor new item. I can't remember which one for sure. If I was on the menu bar.
on the menu bar.
And then there's new items.
Let's see, customers, new item.
Maybe that's under item list on that one.
Okay, so yes, item list is correct.
Yeah.
You go to item list and you'd be able to create a new item. Where else can you go?
So there's an item list under customers.
Item list under customers.
Yeah. Down at the bottom.
Okay, good.
And then I think there's an item list under vendors.
Okay, let's see. Item list. Okay, cool. All right. Those are okay, great.
Like on icon bar.
Say that again.
There could be other ways too, but those are the main three I've been doing, so I don't know what the other ones are.
Okay. So good. Good. So okay, good. You can go to let me see where it is. You can go to company and go to inventory act. Is it company? Yes, you can go to this and go to actually no, vendors, inventory activities, and you got your new item right there. You can go to the home page right here, items and services, and then the other one is going to be under lists, new items list, and then you'll be able to go new there. But good, I did not know there was items list in customers and vendors. Good to know. So now there's 5 ways you're able to do this. Okay. But in this case, I'm going to keep it short and simple. I'm going to go to the home page. Okay, so remember, the home page is you're by far the easiest shortcut. However, QuickBooks is not going to accept it if you only do the home page. Again, there are a million ways you can do a certain transaction. You just need to make sure that you be able to know all of them, because like Tina said, you will be asked you will be asked that question. Okay. All right. So we're gonna create a new item. And okay. So once you get to the item list, you can either right click new, or you can go down to the bottom, items in new. So here I'm gonna create my new item, and again, there's no actual category that says two-sided item. It's just, like I said, it's just associated, usually like typically, inventory part and a non-inventory part, because they are associated with more than 2 accounts. This is considered a two-sided item, okay? So in this case, we want a non-inventory part because we're buying inventory that we don't really want to keep track of. Like, how often do we buy cameras? Not really, just because they're so expensive and not everyone wants a camera. There could be different models of camera. So what we do is we custom order them, okay? We don't have it readily in stock. We custom order them. So if a customer wants one, we go ahead and make that purchase. So this one is going to be custom, custom camera. All right, one thing that we need to make sure is that this is going to be an inventory assembly part. So once you've done that, it's going to drop down this menu here. So you're going to associate a cost with it, and you're going to also associate a revenue to it. In this case, it's going to cost me, I don't think there's a dollar value on how much it's going to cost me. Okay, so yes, there's no dollar value in how much it's going to cost me, but I need to associate that's going to take out from my cost of goods sold. And so we actually leave these 2 blank because, yes, we don't know how much it's going to cost us. However, we want to make sure that we we set them up so when we do have this item, that it associates those accounts and it knows where to go. Okay, so here this is going to be sales. Okay, good. And then in the description, is it a specific camera or is it just let me see if it's a specific camera. So let's see. So in there, I don't see a description.
It just
Okay,
says
right here,
custom
description.
camera order.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I see it. Custom order number. Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and write custom camera order number. Okay. So once I've already filled out all the information, it's not a sub item. Okay, we want to make sure that you understand that. And I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And now I've created my item right here. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what the next the next thing says, because now we're going to actually start charging. We're going to be billing our customer for this item. Okay, so let me see. Okay. So here we're going to do a purchase order. Okay, we're gonna buy a custom camera. Okay, as one of our line items, and we're going to buy it for $398. And let's see what happens here. Okay, and then we're going to send this bill out. Oh, this is a bill. Okay, so we're going to do custom camera for $398. And let's go ahead and proceed. And it's going to be billable because who are we assigning this to? I'm trying to find that right now. We're going to send this out to Maria Cruz. Okay. So let's go ahead and do the purchase order. Okay. There are a lot of ways to do a purchase order. All right. Can some of you guys name a few? How do you create a purchase order?
Vendors from the menu bar.
Venues from the, yes, yep, you can do that. You can create purchase order right here. Good. Okay.
And of course the homepage.
Homepage, good, right here. And then if you go to the vendor center, you'd be able to do those transactions as well. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and create my purchase order. Now, question you guys, pop quiz. Does a purchase order affect your transaction?
No.
No, it's a non-transaction. Good. So I am going to go ahead and create this purchase order for Ace Supply. And what class are they for Ace Supply? Let's see. Class is going to be Walnut Creek. And I made this purchase on February 3rd. Okay, well, so Walnut Creek. I'm going to say I made this purchase May 3rd instead of March 3rd. Okay, and I'm going to name this PO 2021. Okay. And then now it's going to ask me, well, what item am I going to make a purchase for? And in this case, I'm going to do my custom camera. Okay. Now it's telling me, well, since I didn't mark or add any information to it, a custom camera, right? There is no actual price for it because you're actually customizing it, right? So we're asking Cruz Maria exactly what kind of camera we were looking at, and she already told us what we want, or she actually pointed out to what she wanted. So we know that it's going to cost us $398. And yes. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and fill this information in. Quantity, we only want one. Rate is oh yeah, I pressed the enter button by accident. Okay, so I'm gonna go back and try to fix that. So where can I find my purchase orders? So in case you do any of accidents like that, the best way you can do is go ahead and either I think what I could have done easier too is I could have just clicked my purchase orders and clicked the previous button. It would have been there. But in this case, yes, I should definitely go back and do that. But if I click a supply, it's going to show me my purchase orders right here. So I'm going to double click that so I can fix my information because I wasn't completed with this. Okay, so we have our customized thing. Let's see what else I need to have in here. Make sure I fill in that custom camera, order number, and okay, so I guess I just had to fill that last part down in the memo, and I can go ahead and proceed and to receive a bill. Okay, let me see what this is. Vendor supply. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and I think it just said custom camera order number. I'm gonna make up a number, order number 1. Okay, let's say this is the first time we actually ordered this, and I'm gonna hit click save and close. Do I want to save this transaction? Yes. Okay, so good. Now, I believe the next step says you need to receive the inventory with the bill. So I've already selected that I received the inventory with the bill, and it's going to ask me who did I receive this bill from. I select a supply, and it says you have a PO. I'm going to click yes. Here it is. Again, we learned this yesterday. I'm going to click OK. And here, now I get this bill saying that I have to pay $398. But again, I am not the person who's going to be paying for this. So let's say we receive the bill a week later, okay, on Sunday. Actually, no, there's no post on Sunday. So let's do Monday. So let's say Monday, we received it on Monday, May 18. Okay? Again, we are charged $398. However, I am going to bill this to Miss Maria Cruz. Okay? So we need to make sure I saw Walnut Creek, invoice 101 number. So let's go ahead and see our bottom here. So here it says customer job. I'm going to go ahead and write Maria Cruz. And once I do that, my window for billable shows up a little check icon. And I want to verify that I make sure that that is correct. That I am billing Cruz Maria for this item. Okay? And I'm going to go ahead and make sure I validate that and make sure that my window looks exactly like the window here. Okay. Okay, I was actually supposed to select Cruz Maria branch, not just Cruz Maria. Okay, Cruz Maria branch opening. So they wanted a custom camera. So, and then once I've done that, I can go ahead, click OK, and I'm gonna go ahead and invoice her. Okay, so I've already linked the bill to Ace Supply as if Miss Maria Cruz is going to pay for that item. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an invoice, and now I'm going to turn around and I'm going to bill Miss Maria Cruz for that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and bill Maria Cruz branch opening. Okay, here, boom, I get this window saying, hey, you actually have a billable expense pending for this person. And I say, yes, okay. So here's my billable window. And I'm going to make sure I am in, I think I'm supposed to go into items if I'm not mistaken. Let's see. I am supposed to be, actually, let me continue. So I'm supposed to invoice her, okay, and my window should pop up, and I need to, okay, I don't see anything, but it should be under items, okay, because we specifically purchased an item for her. So here it is, items, custom camera. I'm going to go ahead and select it. And I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And now it associates it right here. Okay? But I'm not going to charge her $398. Heck no. I'm going to charge her an additional percentage on that because I had the capability, because she used me as as the middleman to get the camera for her. So let's go check the book out and see how much we're going to actually charge her for. How much are we going to mark her up for? So right now her bill is going to be, let's see how much we're planning to mark her up for. We are going to mark her up for 1.2. Okay. All right. I guess 1.2. I don't know what that means in percentage wise, but we need to make sure that our bill now is going to be for $432. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click my amount. What you can do is the minute that you you click your amount and you type in any of the formulation keys, a sales receipt little image pops up, and it allows you to type in any number that you want to either do a quick add to either do a quick math problem, so you don't actually have to calculate on your computer and actually do a separate line item for it. You can go ahead and just do that, and I think it says 1.2, and I'm gonna click. You're supposed to click tab, but I clicked enter, and here now it's charging me for $477. Okay, I don't know if I did that right. I don't think I did that right. Oh wait, 517 does our window match? Yes, 517. So I did do it right. Okay, so we charged her an additional 20%. Yes, we charged her an additional 20% for using us to get her stuff. So instead of paying for $398, she has to pay almost $75 more for that camera. Okay. So once we verify that our screen matches this screen here, okay, so good. We got okay, so I have to change the bill date to a later date. I got to make sure that I say thank you to her and custom, and make sure that it's a custom camera, making sure that everything adds up. She got taxed for it. She got taxed for Contra Costa. So good. So here, I'm going to say thank you because you're our customer. We want to always say thank you. And in the memo, we want to write custom camera order number 1. And we're going to change the date on this because we're going to bill her 2 days later. Okay? And it's for that invoice. All right, PO number. Yes, we do have one. I'm gonna write PO 2021. And yep, everything looks good. We marked it up 20%, and we're charging her a total of $517 Costa. Okay, and then we can go ahead and save and close. So now Maria Cruz is being billed for a total of $500. Nice. Okay, so let's see what time it is. Okay, so it's 9:45. Go ahead and take a quick 15-minute break. So please be back by 10 o'clock, and we will resume this lecture.